So I'm not somebody who normally wears their Apple Watch in bed. This thing is a little chunky, let's be real. I decided that I was going to spend 1 week religiously wearing my watch. I was going to try out Apple's new sleep tracking. For 8 nights straight, I tracked every single detail of my sleep. And the results, they are shocking. And I think I'm going to be sticking with wearing this during the night. Because if I'm honest, it made a massive difference to my sleep. So let's get into it. Of course, I am talking about Apple's sleep tracking, where I got scores ranging from a perfect 94 down to a very, very concerning 61. That is an absolutely terrible night's sleep. Let's be real, but we're going to get into it. One night, Apple was telling me I didn't get enough of the core deep sleep that you need to feel refreshed. And another night, I slept for over 9 hours. And Apple, they said I got a great score. I gave me a 91. Here's the weird part. Some nights I felt terrible when I actually scored really high. And other nights I'd scored really low, but I felt great when I woke up in the morning. So I thought we'd dive into this data and look at Apple's sleep tracking and see what it actually means. What does that score mean? And see if it's worth the obsession. Because after 1 week of using this, I think I've learned a lot about how I sleep and how to change my sleeping habits to score higher and actually to get a better night's sleep. So first things first, what are you actually seeing here? So here's a result and the score is out of 100. It is essentially summing up 3 key metrics, and that is duration, bedtime consistency, and interruptions. So what are they? So you've got duration. This is worth a whole 50 points out of your sleep score. And this is how long you actually slept for and how well you slept. It's all to do with the sleep portion. Bedtime consistency. Well, this is, did you go to bed on time? Were you early or were you late to when you normally go to sleep? This is worth 30 points. And then interruption. This one is worth the least. But I think it's interesting because we're going to look into it a bit later about my interruptions. Essentially, this is how many times during the night did you think you woke up? Did you feel like you woke up? I personally feel like I wake up a lot during the night. And this was something I was really interested in. Now, here's what's mental about this. You can sleep for 9 hours and have a terrible score if you went to bed at the wrong time. So you went too early or you went too late. Apple isn't just tracking that one point in time when you're asleep. They're judging that routine from start to finish, and they're using that to generate this score. I'm not somebody who claims to be a sleep expert. I am in my dressing gown because I'm going to bed. But it was really interesting to see these laid out. Let's get into my results. What do they say about my sleep? So my best night was September 23rd. I got a score of 94 out of 100. I slept for 9 hours and 27 minutes. I went to bed 1 hour and 38 minutes earlier than I normally do. And I had only 5 wake-ups, which is actually really good for me. I feel like that's really good. And this had worked for me because I felt absolutely incredible the next day. I felt refreshed and that I had a good night's sleep. So in this case, the score matched what I felt. My worst night, well, it was the 22nd of September, the day before I was going to have my best night's sleep. And I got a score of 61. And I kind of get this. I only slept for 4 hours and 14 minutes. But the app, it was clear to tell me that I hadn't had enough REM and deep sleep. These are the core parts of your sleep. And I was like, thanks, Apple. I did not need you to tell me this. I feel terrible. I could figure that one out myself. But it's interesting to know that it tracked that and worked that out. So they make sense. I didn't do a lot of sleep one day or I did a lot of sleep the other day. That results in 2 different scores. But here's a weird one. On the 19th of September, I only slept for about 4 hours. That's not very long. But scored a staggering 71, which is 10 points higher than that terrible night of 61. Both were really short sleeps, but one appears dramatically better than the other, according to Apple's algorithm. But I thought, why is this? What did I do better on the 19th that I didn't do on the 22nd? And then there's the 17th of September. I slept for over 7 hours. It was really nice. I spent a lot of time in bed. I felt relaxed. But no, I scored a staggeringly low 64, only 3 points higher than my worst in this week. But the reason was I went to bed 3 hours and 44 minutes later than usual. Apple is massively pushing down the sleep score if you go to bed really late or really early, which I thought was interesting. This is where my deep dive into Apple's sleep tracking got a little bit obsessive. But honestly, I think I'm onto something here. Let's look at this. So on the 20th of September, I slept for 5 hours, but because I stuck to my bedtime, I scored a 75. Meanwhile, on the 17th, I slept for 7 hours, but because I went to bed so late, I only scored a 64. Apple are basically saying it's not about how much you sleep. We don't care if you get more or less, but it's about your consistency. When you go to bed, when you don't. And shockingly, this is backed up by research. Having an inconsistent bedtime messes with your circadian rhythm just as much as not getting enough sleep does, which for me is shocking because I'm somebody who sleeps really late on, about 3 or 4 in the morning, but sometimes goes to bed early, so I mess with my sleep pattern a lot. And maybe I need to be more consistent. Every day while I was doing this, I woke up and I looked at my score and I wanted to make it better. I was progressively trying to improve it. It's kind of like Apple have gamified a good sleep hygiene. And frankly, I thought it worked. Like, for me, it worked. I started caring about when I went to bed. I was trying to go to bed earlier, be more consistent. How long I slept for mattered. What I'd done prior to going to sleep. What I was doing when I woke up made a difference. So I think this is going to help a lot of people. It definitely has made a difference to me. One of my highest scoring nights on the 18th of September, I scored a 91. I thought this was really good. But I had 7 wake-ups, totaling 12 minutes. 7 wake-ups. I woke up 7 times in the middle of the night. Meanwhile, on my terrible night sleeps, like the 22nd, I only had 1 wake-up for 4 minutes. But the score was massively lower. This does tell us and backs up what we were saying, that Apple are weighing duration and bedtime way more than how many times you wake up. Those 7 wake-ups only cost me 6 points, but sleeping 4 hours instead of 8 absolutely destroyed my score. Now that I have observed all of this data for a week, what have I learned? The first is consistency beats everything. No matter what you do, if you can be consistent, it will help. The 2 highest scores both had something in common. I went to bed early and I stuck to my routine. How bad or good your routine is, if you go to bed at a consistent time, you'll get higher points, and Apple will reward this behavior with a good sleep score. Second, the 50 points that are weighted to duration isn't subtle. If you're not hitting that target, if you're not, say, sleeping for 7 hours or getting consistent lengths of sleep, nothing else really matters. All the perfect bedtime won't save you from like 4 hours of sleep one night. You're going to have a bad score. Thirdly, the feedback. It's really helpful. Before, when you got the graph of your sleep overnight, I looked at it and I didn't really understand it. I couldn't quantify it into some numbers. But doing this does. And it telling you what you didn't do, like you didn't get enough REM sleep or deep sleep, allows me to think, what did I do differently tonight that I didn't do yesterday or the day before? And what can I do to improve it? I'm quite competitive, so I want to get that score up. I want to make it high. So I try to beat myself every night. The reality check is this score is not perfect, but as a tool for helping me build awareness for how I sleep and how you sleep, I thought it was surprisingly effective. The gamification of this is genuinely going to be something that if you can get into that habit of looking at it and wanting to look at it and caring about what it says, you are going to get a better night's sleep and you're going to feel more refreshed in the morning. And I kind of think that's the point. Whether the algorithm is perfect or not, it doesn't really matter, as long as in the end you get a better night's sleep. So what I want to know down in the comments is, have you been using it? What are your scores? Are my scores low? Are they high in comparison? What do you think? Is it too much? Is it not enough? Let me know your experience, because there's got to be a lot. You've got to have tried it. But now, if you'll excuse me, I'm off to bed because I need to keep that score up. So anyway, bye.